Welcome to Ethiopia Today.
India accidentally fires a missile into Pakistan. Delhi apologizes for regrettable maintenance error that led to weapon blasting into its nuclear-armed sworn enemy. India's military accidentally fired a missile into Pakistan, New Delhi's defense ministry said on Friday, claiming that routine maintenance made the missile go off because of a technical malfunction. The missile landed in an area of Pakistan, the defense ministry said in a statement, adding that a high-level inquiry had been ordered. India called the bombing deeply regrettable, but added it was a matter of relief that there has been no loss of life due to the accident. The statement came hours after Islamabad's foreign ministry condemned what it called an unprovoked violation of its airspace by an Indian-origin supersonic flying object. The missile damaged some civilian property, said Pakistan's Inter-Services Public Relations, a wing of the Pakistan Armed Forces, but said it was certainly unarmed. When asked at the press briefing if the missile was intended to test Pakistan's air defense capability, the spokesperson said, "I think it is too early to say anything about that." India's chargé d'affaires in Islamabad had been summoned to the Foreign Office for a strong protest, it added. The imprudent launch had damaged property on the ground and put at risk both civilian lives and aircraft in Pakistani airspace, it said, accusing India of callousness towards regional peace and stability. New Delhi has more than 500,000 troops stationed in Indian-administered Kashmir, where rebel groups have battled for decades for the region's independence or its merger with Pakistan. New Delhi accuses Islamabad of backing the insurgents, which it denies. Indian aircraft bombed what New Delhi called a terrorist training camp deep inside Pakistan in 2019 after a suicide bombing claimed by a Pakistan-based militant group killed 40 Indian troops. In aerial skirmishes over Kashmir the next day, at least one Indian jet was shot down and its pilot captured by Pakistan. But Pakistani Prime Minister Imran Khan had him released in a peace gesture. Both India and Pakistan are nuclear-armed and share a history of border tension. Ethiopia affirms neutral stance on Russia-Ukraine war, says G4 nations promote regional integration. At bi-weekly press briefing of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs MOFA, the spokesperson Ambassador Dina Mufti said Ethiopia is watching the dispute between Russia and Ukraine carefully. He asserted that Ethiopia will remain neutral regarding the two countries' internal affairs. He also commented on the recently formed group of four nations G4 comprising Algeria, Ethiopia, Nigeria, and South Africa aimed at dealing with various issues confronting Africa. G4 is an interest-based relationship aimed at the development, and it will not operate against Africa's regional integration program, the ambassador said. The spokesperson explained that Ethiopian embassies based in UK, Italy and Germany were under efforts to evacuate Ethiopian citizens in Ukraine. He, however, said that he did not have the exact figure of Ethiopians that were residing in Ukraine where war is raging on. Replying to Ada's standard question regarding the purpose of the formation of the group of four nations G4 and if it has any impact on Africa's schemes of regional integration, the ambassador explained that the idea of G4 was not a new concept, and it had been operating in many aspects with NEPAD previously. G4 is an interest-based relationship aimed at the development, and it will not operate against Africa's regional integration program. While G4 is just on interest-based relationships, other Africa's regional blocs like EGAD, ECOWAS and SADC are institutional, the spokesperson said. At the beginning of February, it was reported that the leaders of the four countries, including Algeria, Ethiopia, Nigeria and South Africa, announced the formation of the group of four nations G4 on the sidelines of the 6th EUO summit at Brussels. Despite the lack of details, the report indicated that the purpose of forming this group was aimed at addressing crisis areas in the continent. On the other hand, Ambassador Dina discussed the decision of the appointment of 3 members of the International Commission of Human Rights Experts by the UN Human Rights Council on Ethiopia to conduct an impartial investigation into allegations, violations and abuses of human rights concerning the ongoing conflict in the northern part of Ethiopia. At the presser, he was asked if the Ethiopian government had any stance on this decision. He said, "The Ethiopian government has not taken any stance on it yet." It is to be recalled that earlier in March, the president of the Human Rights Council, Ambassador Federico Villegas of Argentina, announced the appointment of Fatou Bensouda of the Gambia, Kari Betty Murungi of Kenya, and Stephen Ratner of the US to serve as the 3 members of the International Commission of Human Rights Experts on Ethiopia. Ms. Bensouda will serve as chair of the 3-person commission. Furthermore, Ambassador Dina talked about the relationship between Ethiopia and Eritrea, explaining to a question from the media if the relationship between the two countries was based on principle, and at an institutional level. He stated that the two countries had been in conflict for years, and it has almost been 3 years since they reconciled and regained their peace. Despite the ongoing conflict impacting the newly emerged relationship of the two countries, the biggest success of Ethiopia and Eritrea is their achievement of maintaining regional peace, he said. Before winding up the briefing, the spokesperson talked about the current relationship between Ethiopia and the U.S., saying both countries want to strengthen their bilateral relationship. Belarus. Kiev claims that Lukashenko's forces will cross the border tonight after he visited Putin in Moscow, and Russian Air Force staged false flag attack. Ukraine claimed Belarusian forces are poised to join the Russian invasion tonight. Kiev said it could not rule out invasion after meeting between Putin and Lukashenko. It comes hours after 2 Russia jets attacked targets in both Ukraine and Belarus. Moscow has again been accused of false flag attack as justification for invasion. Ukraine has today claimed that Belarus is set to invade Ukraine with Alexander Lukashenko's forces poised to cross the border tonight. Kiev's Center for Strategic Communications said it could not rule out the possibility following a meeting in Moscow between Russian President Vladimir Putin and Belarusian leader Lukashenko. According to preliminary data, Belarusian troops may be drawn into an invasion on March 11th at 9 p.m. The center, which was established under the Ministry of Culture and Information Policy, said in a statement. The center urged Belarusians to defy any unlawful orders, including an invasion, and to rise up against Lukashenko. He has so far refused to get his men involved in the war after commanders reportedly quit rather than join the fighting. Ukraine has also today accused fighter jets of staging a false flag attack on Belarus as a pretext to getting Alexander Lukashenko's troops involved in the fighting. Kiev said 2 Su-25 bombers crossed the border from Belarus this afternoon, carried out attacks on Ukrainian soil, and then bombed Belarus itself. Defense Minister Oleksiy Reznikov said the attack was planned by Russia. The purpose of this provocation is to force the current leadership of Belarus into war against Ukraine. Moscow is trying to bind you with blood, he said. Russia widened its offensive in Ukraine on Friday, striking airfields in the west and a major industrial city in the east, as well as hitting urban areas such as Kiev, Kharkiv, and Mariupol. Russian Defense Ministry spokesman Igor Konashenkov said Russia used high-precision long-range weapons to put military airfields in Lutsk and Ivano-Frankivsk in the west out of action. The Lutsk strikes killed 4 Ukrainian servicemen and wounded 6, Lutsk Mayor Ihor Polishchuk said. In Ivano-Frankivsk, residents were ordered into shelters in an air raid alert. Russian airstrikes also targeted for the first time the eastern city of Dnipro, a major industrial hub and Ukraine's 4th largest city situated on the Dnieper River. 3 strikes hit, killing at least 1 person, according to Ukrainian Interior Ministry advisor Anton Heroshenko. In images of the aftermath released by Ukraine's emergency agency, firefighters doused a flaming building, and ash fell on bloodied rubble. Smoke billowed over shattered concrete where buildings once stood. So far, the Russians have made the biggest advances on cities in the east and south, including in Mariupol, the heavily bombarded seaport where civilians scrounged for food and fuel amid a harrowing 10-day-old siege, while struggling in the north and around Kiev. Meanwhile, Kiev's intelligence service today claimed Vladimir Putin has ordered his troops to create a man-made catastrophe at Chernobyl, which he plans to blame on Ukrainian saboteurs in order to justify further escalating his war against the ex-Soviet country, Kiev's intelligence service has claimed today. Ukrainian spies say the terrorist attack will be carried out by Russian operatives who moved in yesterday amongst a group of specialists sent by Belarus to take over safety operations at the partially destroyed nuclear power plant, which was seized by Russian forces in the opening days of the invasion. Belarus sent the team in after Putin's men disconnected Chernobyl from monitoring systems which report the status of its nuclear safety systems to UN watchdog, the International Atomic Energy Agency, and cut power to the plant, meaning water used to keep its fuel rods cooled will no longer automatically top itself up. The Ukrainian warning comes against the backdrop of Western governments saying Russia appears to be laying the groundwork to use chemical or biological weapons in Ukraine, an attack that would also be blamed on Kiev with the aim of justifying a further increase in violence. For his part, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said Ukrainian forces had reached a strategic turning point, though he did not elaborate. It's impossible to say how many days we will still need to free our land, but it is possible to say that we will do it, he said via video from Kiev. He also said authorities were working on establishing 12 humanitarian corridors and trying to ensure food, medicine, and other basics get to people across the country. Thousands of civilians and soldiers on both sides are believed to have been killed in the invasion. In another potentially ominous development, new satellite photos appeared to show the massive Russian convoy outside the Ukrainian capital had split up and fanned out. Howitzers were towed into position to open fire, and armored units were seen in towns near the Antonov airport north of the city, according to Maxar Technologies, reported on Daily Mail News. The 40-mile line of tanks and other vehicles had massed outside Kyiv early last week, but its advance had appeared to stall amid reports of food and fuel shortages, muddy roads, and attacks by Ukrainian troops with anti-tank missiles. The purpose of the latest move was unclear, though Russia is widely expected eventually to try to encircle the capital. Britain's Ministry of Defense said that after making limited progress, Russian forces were trying to reset and reposture their troops, gearing up for operations against Kyiv. But Reynolds, the defense analyst, said the move, in part, looked like an attempt by the troops to better protect themselves by dispersing. He said it may indicate the Russians are not ready to surround the city just yet. Repeated rounds of negotiations between Russia and Ukraine have taken place along the Belarus border, and the two countries' foreign ministers held talks on Thursday with no apparent progress, while various third countries have also made attempts to broker a stop to the fighting. A Western official speaking on condition of anonymity to discuss intelligence matters said the fact that negotiations are taking place so early in the fighting might speak to Russian concerns about the progress of the war. On Wednesday, Ukrainian soldiers traversed snow-dusted fields and woods near Kyiv, rifles and rocket-propelled grenade launchers slung over their shoulders in a video recorded by Radio Free Europe. One of them vowed to kill their enemies over the bombing of Mariupol. Gunfire and explosions could be heard, and at one point, shots split the air nearby, and the soldiers dropped to the ground and returned fire.
Are you looking to earn working remotely, from anywhere with maximum flexibility and convenient? Do you have a talent or services to offer to your clients? You have great chance of working on several jobs or projects for multiple clients at one time. Or are you a business owner or employer who are looking for hiring freelancer to work on your project? Well, if that's yes, please click the link below to learn more about and get started.
Thanks for staying with us. If you enjoyed our presentation, give us a like and share to your social contacts. And also don't forget to subscribe and tap on the notification bell if this is your first time. Please also check on our collection of favorites on the description section below. See you on our next video. Many thanks.